Max Lindquist, how are you, man? We're going to talk about round 9, Briar Cliff. Wonderful facility, beautiful day, and you wanted to sightsee.
Yes, sir. It was, obviously an eventful weekend for myself, but really good weekend of racing. Like you said, beautiful racetrack, beautiful facility, and good weather all weekend. So definitely another good weekend to go racing.
Do when you had the couple rounds that were really bad weather, and then you roll into this, and you're just thinking, why couldn't they, look at the Farmer's Almanac, because it tells you when the bad weather time is going to be, and just pick days when it's not going to rain?
I don't know, but I sure like these dry races. It makes things a lot more fun.
Oh God, I bet it does. So, we'll get into the pro class and some of the things that went on there. Before we do that, we want to give a big shout out to Michael Elred to make sure that he's okay. And if anybody can pass on any information, please do. We always want to make sure that our racers are in good health and that they're okay. And if they need anything that the industry or anybody that can support or help does. So if anybody knows anything, please reach out. That being said, WMX, Kinsey has kept it perfect.
Yeah. Another, I don't know what to say. I didn't really get to watch much of that class of how the race order played out this weekend. And I mean, it just kind of seems like the rest of the year, how it's written out, like take off. And I don't think she pulled the stars, but from the results I've seen, she was back in her own zip code.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I got it, that each moto was hole shotted by somebody different. And Andrea Berger went 2-2. Niamh Shaw swapped with Ellie Roush, for the 3-4. So it ended up giving Niamh third. And I didn't catch the young lady's name that hole shotted the first moto, but I know Andrea hole shotted the second moto.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not aware who did either. I can say good to hear Ellie Roush got up there. Had seen her out practicing, would have been about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago when I was out at Briar Cliff. So no surprise to see her do well. So congrats to her. It's always a good thing to get up on the podium for one of your first times. So that's always fun. Well, get to your first podium result, like a third overall in the motos, definitely not an easy task with that group of riders there.
Right. There's a points battle for second between Olivia and Niamh. I think they're, if I'm not mistaken, they're 1 point apart.
So this last round will definitely be one to keep your eye out for.
Oh yeah, and I believe in that class that's just those two settle for where they're going to sit on the podium, whether it's going to be second or third. I don't believe fourth has a shot to get in there for that. So, it's kind of fixed, but it's not. We'll see how Niamh does. Andrea's out of the points, because she missed so many rounds. She's made a good headway there, but not enough to get herself up into the top 3.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't even know with the amount of races she has raced if they qualify her for points or not. But
they
definitely
got her listed.
Yeah, do they?
Yeah.
Usually I think you have to attend 5 races a year to be like taken into the overall points, but things could have changed there or whatever. But definitely have to keep my eye out on this last race and see. Obviously, I would take Niamh Shaw as your favorite for runner up there, but anything can happen. That's why we go racing.
Yeah, Niamh had a horrible get off at Loretta Lynn's last year. She said she was coming through the start really well, and then she doesn't really know exactly what happened, but ended up on her noodle and ended her day.
yeah, so hopefully she can bounce back and have a better Loretta's this year, and hopefully we see some good racing.
Yeah. Pro sport, the points battle there is really, really tightening up. I mean, they have a fierce battle. I got it written down here. Let me
Brett Musik, and then I think it should be Mason Jackson, Jayden Londerville, and there's only 8 points.
isn't
It
isn't
should be
that
separating.
in Pro-Am?
I know Brett Musik's out front in pro sport. And I know Jayden's third. I'm pretty sure it's Mason. And I know there's only, because I just looked, there's only like an 8 points separating first and second, and only like 10 separating Jayden from first. So really this last round is gonna come down to where you finish.
I have it all written out. Jayden is third in points with Blair Miller, 4 points back. And no, that's Pro-Am, wrong class. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yes, you're right. Mason Jackson's making a run on Musik.
Yeah, and he's
closed it up.
leading the Pro-Am too.
Yeah, he's closed it up. He's second. Chambers is right there as well, to my knowledge, in that class. Londerville's in third, or it's Blair or Musik, Jackson, Londerville, Miller, and then I believe that it's Chambers is there in fifth. I don't think he can move up in that class, but he's definitely a threat in the Pro-Am, and so is Kevin. Kevin could take the win in that with a good finish and a bad finish there, because there's 9 points separate the top 5 guys in Pro-Am.
Yeah, both classes are really close, and we're definitely seeing some guys make some big pushes, like Mason Jackson there in the pro sport class. He was on fire this weekend. He was rolling. I think he had a mistake there in one of the motos of pro sport, just a bad start or something, but I don't know where he finished this weekend in pro sport, but I know Pro-Am he was rolling. And then, like you said, Joey Chambers, he looked really good. Blair Miller was up there as well. Like, that whole group has really tightened up, and it's really coming down to a good start and making good, smart decisions on the racetrack.
I haven't got to talk to Mason Jackson. You and I have spoke about him multiple times, and I've talked with Leon about him. That kid is on fire. He is really good. Unfortunately, I think Joseph came into the hunt too late in the pro sport class to really become a threat, but he's came on at the end of the year too. Those guys, I don't know if Joseph would I don't know if either one of them would step up into the pro class, but those two guys seem to be really have got their wheels under them and are doing good things.
Yeah, I definitely think there's, coming into this last round at Loretta's, there's definitely a couple guys there in the Pro-Am that are going to have a decision to make this offseason, and those are obviously two of the guys, and I don't think either way is good or bad. I think it's more of a personal preference of where your program's at and how you feel and what they think is going to be best for them. And being in the pro class, always love to see guys moving up and filling our gate. So be interested to see what these guys decide to do here after Loretta's.
Yeah, it's going to be quite the eventful thing that comes through at the end, or the beginning. Some of the guys like to keep it secret until the beginning of the next year and what's going to happen. Jayden is 19, and I know that he's old enough to go. I just don't know if he's got enough race experience yet to send him up. I'd like to see Blair Miller cook a little more as well. Because he's coming off that shoulder injury from last year. It's hard to say. Brett was already a pro. He's a little older, but he's fighting with the kids, giving him some seasoning, teaching him a little, some stuff. So it's hard to say who would go, if any of them.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. You see everyone stay back, and we have another really good pro sport battle next year with all those guys. Could also see a couple guys moving up and a couple staying back, so just kind of have to wait and let time tell. But definitely will be a really interesting race to watch here come Loretta's, because Briar Cliff, there was a lot of guys shuffling positions and trying to get themselves in the best position possible going into the end of the year here.
There was another name in the results in one of the classes. I apologize. Was it Joey? Did you look at those results by chance?
Oh, Joey Norris. He just moved up into the Pro-Am class, and I believe he took 4th place this weekend.
Yeah, I'd seen his name before, but
yeah,
like that, he's already a threat.
Yeah, he's coming off of the 250, and if I'm correct, he took a couple races off this year just because of age, waiting to turn and be legal to run the Pro-Am class. And he's an Ohio native from the area, so knows the track well, but he came out and rode very well, shows good speed, and he put together a really good, solid moto Sunday afternoon there in the Pro-Am class. He rode very well. Definitely a guy that I think this year's a good learning experience. I don't expect him to win, but he definitely has the speed to run with the guys. I think it's really good what he's doing to get out there and see the pace and see what's going on and know what he needs to do over the offseason. And you could definitely see him come out next year and be a title threat.
Yeah, those boys better watch out, because he looks like he's hungry and wants it.
Yeah, he was quite impressive to watch. So definitely was moving this last weekend.
Didn't Mason Jackson have an injury in 2022 that limited his year?
Yeah, so coming into this year, I think he only started riding a couple weeks before Daytona as well, if not only a time or two. He had blown out his knee. I think it was ACL and MCL. So he's coming off a big injury too at the start of the year, and you can definitely tell he's been getting back into race shape and race pace and picking things up here at the end of the year.
Well, that's pretty admirable that he stayed in some form of shape. And, it seems to me like he's one of the guys that this is what he wants to do, and this is where he wants to be. So I would think that he's going to cook one more year down in the pro sport and the Pro-Am, but you never know. He may, his team may think he's ready to go because he's fast, consistently fast.
Yeah, I mean, all I can say about that kid is he definitely grits it out. He just hangs on and grips it and rips it, and it's fun to watch. And I could definitely see either way. If he does go pro, I don't think he's one that's gonna fade. I think the kid's gonna put in the work, and he'll show up, and you'll see him run the whole 20 minutes strong. So either way, I think he's gonna be a threat in either class.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens at Loretta's with those results, and being able to talk with you about that, just to go over what we think is going to happen in the 2024 season, and how they're going to play their cards. It all depends on how it ends in Loretta's. If he comes out with both of those titles, I can see him going up, and it's very possible that he does. Other than Pro-Am, Kevin could come in there and steal that one away. He does have some points to cover, so he's going to need help a little, I think, from Brett to give him that lead, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin won one this weekend. He was definitely the guy to beat. Riding well in the pro class as well, but really riding well in the pro-am. Just has dialed up his starts a little better is what I've noticed. Is he's getting out of the gate better and getting clean air. And once he's out front, he's really consistent, just hits his marks and doesn't make mistakes. And that's where you're seeing the veteran compared to these young guys that are just as fast, but making these little mistakes that just take time to figure out. And you're seeing Kevin being the 5-time champ he is back home, like showing what he knows, his knowledge.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with his abilities and how well he rides. Let's get into a little bit of the pro class. Some different things happen. We already talked about Michael, and best wishes again. So there was a first turn, get a little altercation, just a racing incident between you, Janusa, and Michael Allred, that set you and Janusa back a little bit in the beginning. Tell us a little bit about that and how that worked into your result.
Yeah, definitely not the way you ever want to start a motos upside down. But obviously really thankful myself to walk away from that one. I'm sure Nick could say the same, and really hope Michael heals up and gets better, because never want to see that. Never want to see a guy go down that way. But yeah, just a freak like hole shot incident where some tires grabbed and unfortunately stood some of us guys up over the handlebars, and it is what it is. But from there, me and Nick got rolling last and second to last, and we were probably a good 30 seconds back from the field and just had to kind of both put our heads down. And I think it was actually like a good thing for the both of us, with each other both moving forward. Like we each really pushed the pace forward and just worked our way up through the field, and just continually together got ourselves up into the top 10 to finish out the moto 7th and 8th.
Did it give you a sense of, that you're moving in the right direction, with being able to make those moves and get yourself up inside the top 10?
Yeah. I mean, definitely nice to do. Wish I wouldn't have had to. But it's always good when you can come through the field and make some good, clean, fast passes and get yourself back up into the top 10. And really, once we got up into that 7-8 spot, like we were looking at probably 20 seconds still till that next top 5 guys. So you're really sitting there, and that's where like me and Nick, I feel like, helped each other keep that pace going, where you were still fighting for position with each other. Hats off to him. He came out ahead of me, but I feel like we each kept pushing each other as the moto went, because you get in that like 7-8 spot between the two packs, and you can either kind of settle in or you can keep pushing. And I felt like we both kept pushing the pace just in case someone in front of us would make a mistake, and no one did. But definitely a good moto, and felt good to at least finish that one out and run at the pace we did.
Well, that's good that you guys didn't get hurt. Again, we already know that Michael's getting some attention at home, and we hope that he's better and back on the machine soon. And I know I've said that multiple times. It's just, I just don't like hearing about you guys. You guys put out too much work to get hurt, and unfortunately, it's a dangerous sport, and it does happen. Hole shotting the first moto. How did it break down for everybody coming out of the hole in Moto 1?
For what I saw of it, Brandon Hogue obviously pulled Moto 1 start, got out in front of Joel, and then I think it looked like Bryce, Rastrelli, and Chad was your top 5. And from there, it went, we all seen the end of the day results with Joel up front, Hogue second, Chad third, and then Bryce and Rastrelli. And for a while, like especially once me and Rastrelli got in that kind of no man's land, we could really see Bryce, Rastrelli, and Chad had a really good battle going for that third spot. And then what was the real impressor, I feel like, of Moto 1 was seeing Brandon Hogue hold Joel Hetrick up for quite a while, and then think he only finished like 2 or 3 seconds off Joel in that first moto. So really kept him honest and put in a good run. So hats off to that guy.
Do you think Brandon's getting a better feel for his program? And I think he's in shape. It was in shape from day one. I just think that maybe he's just getting a feel for the new program and getting himself where he needs to be on that machine.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me. I feel like Brandon's had the speed all year, honestly, just from qualifying and motos. I just feel like he finally put together a solid moto, got a good start, and it's amazing what that does for a guy. And when you're a guy like Brandon that, gets up front and has good breakaway speed, I almost don't expect anything less. I think he qualified P1, if not P2, and he showed it when he got out front and got that start. And I think with how close all the top 7 of us has been, I think that was all Brandon was missing, was a good start. I think he'd always been coming from behind and having to make moves. And this weekend he executed his starts really well and just got up front and showed his speed.
Yeah, that's good to see that the shuffle is still happening there, in that top 7 with everything just rolling different for everybody. I've looked at the points and, let's go through Moto 2 before we talk about those. Yep. How did Moto 2 break down for coming out of the hole in Moto 2?
So I want to say Hogue pulled the start again because he crashed up front leading, just made a mistake and spun the machine out, and I think got a little tip over. So I think Hogue, Hetrick, and Wienen. And then yet again, you had your Ford, Wienen, Rastrelli battle, and myself and Nick Janusa came out somewhere around that 7-8 spot again. And then from there, I think it was I think the top 10 was somewhere like Wesley Wolf and Logan Stanfield. So pretty similar like takeoff to the first moto, and really similar moto throughout the top 5-7 again, position wise. Joel got up front right away then, with Brandon making the mistake on the first lap or second lap. I'm sorry, I can't quite remember. But Joel got up front and kind of rode away with it. And then you saw your Wienen, Rastrelli, and Ford battle again. And from there, me and Nick Janusa battled out all moto. And I had an unfortunate mechanical, but from there, it kind of was almost a replay of Moto 1.
And that gave Joel Hetrick the 2023 title.
Yes, sir. Yeah, he's the champ. Nothing anyone can do about that. With the 1-1, he locked it up and pretty much just gets to come out and have fun at this last round. Right.
And there was some controversy in Moto 2 in one of the split lanes, I'm assuming it was.
Yes,
what
sir.
was that all about?
So coming up to, they call it Bigfoot in the center, their big step up triple. They put in some sand sections with some split lanes, inside outside or outside inside. And as the day went, the banks were wearing down, and the only thing separating them was they had put up some track markers separating the banks. And I'm not sure if one of them got knocked down, what the case was, but there were a few riders that throughout the moto started transferring over the split lanes, which resulted in a couple of position docks overall on our overall results. So that was kind of the controversy there, was just figuring out like who did make the transition from inside to outside, and then what the exact penalty was going to be, because it was quite a few guys. But it definitely shook up our overall race order.
Do you think that they should have made those adjustments in the split lane? You know, was it a spoke of before it happened rule, or is it in the rules that it's written that way?
You know, I was aware of it. But I also feel like it's one of those things that maybe could have been made more well aware of, like throughout our pro riders meeting or something like that. Like it is stated in our rules that you cannot like you're not allowed to run over a track. You're not allowed to cross over a track marker. Like when they mark the outside of the racetrack, we're allowed to get half a machine width off that track marker, but we're never allowed to go over the track marker. So I feel like there's a little bit of a gray area there because usually track markers are only used on the outside edges of the race course. But in this case, to keep guys in the split lanes, they use them to separate the race course and show the divided line. But as the day went, obviously it didn't quite keep everyone from doing that. And I feel like, you know, some people would probably say they weren't a fan of it, others weren't. To me, you know, it didn't change anything on my end of things. But I was aware of it. So I feel like, yeah, like probably not a bad thing that they at least did something about it. And it was equal to all the guys, I feel like, that did do it, that the adjustments that were made. But I also do feel for those guys that did get docked because it wasn't something that was brought to our attention through our pro riders meeting or like was ever discussed. So I feel like that was something that you really had to be paying attention on. And unfortunately, some guys just didn't know. So I feel like it'll be something that's definitely touched on, like pro riders meeting throughout later this year or something like that. I'm sure there will be other conversations to clarify that rule.
Who's in charge of the riders meeting?
Our pro referee, Harv.
Okay, so you know, Harv probably just thought everybody knew and just didn't mention it, or it just hadn't came up.
Well, I just feel like it's not something that we see at every round. Like normally tracks don't take and put track markers throughout their split lanes, but I think the whole purpose of the split, like the track marker, was just to try and keep them split lanes. Like otherwise, what happens throughout the day is they get worn down and we end up jumping them and the track becomes very one line because you just cut the split lane. And I totally understand the point of trying to keep them separate. It made the track really racy. And that's why I feel like it wasn't a bad thing that people were docked. Like the whole point was to keep the track racy, and that's what it did. I just also feel like it was something that we don't see very often. And I feel like it was something that could have been touched on more than it was.
Nice. I kind of, you know, I wasn't there, so it's kind of hard to say, but yeah, there's always something that could be covered better. You know, there's always some crazy.
Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes you just have to learn the hard way, and it is what it is. So I feel bad for the guys that kind of did. But I'm sure next time there's track markers on the course, we'll all know to definitely not run those things over.
That's true. That's true. Was there any bad blood over it, or
not that I'm aware of? More just discrepancies on like figuring out what the rule was on docking position and if people were getting docked. I feel like it was more making sure it was an equal decision made for everyone, that it didn't favor one over the other. And I feel like they definitely took their time on that decision. And I'm not honestly sure if that decision's fully been made. I know on Sunday, like we didn't get paid for our second moto. They didn't award points right away. So I know there was definitely some discussions that went into that, and I'm not sure what that was all on. So not going to speak on that. But definitely know that it was a controversial topic after Moto 2.
I seen a posted result first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, so on. And I seen that. And then later I seen another one. So,
well, that's why I don't want to say that it's completely been I'm sure that at this point it has been, but at this point in time, I don't know exactly what the true rule was on for how they docked positions for that and what the final outcome was. So just gonna leave that one alone a little bit, as I'm a little unclear on how that all went down.
Mr. Non-confrontational.
Yep, we'll leave it. Just I'll tell you what I know. We'll leave it at that.
Right on, right on.
To keep everyone happy that way.
I went over the points, and I'm sure that you're pretty much aware of how the points break down. Joel has locked his spot in, and he's the champ, and there's no way anybody can pass him ever unless you add another round, and he doesn't race the last two. Second place is not locked in, but it's
close.
Yeah, I mean, it
needs some help.
Not much, not much. And third is not locked in either. It's still close.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
if second and third both have a problem, you could see a different second place guy.
Yeah, I mean, from looking at the points myself, I feel like just from how the last couple rounds have been going, I don't honestly feel like you're going to see a change in anything. Like, everyone's kind of separated out enough to where you would have to have a big mistake to gain or lose ground. But at the same time, it's all very well possible when you go racing to see that happen. So I feel like that 4 through 2 spot definitely could mix up, but at the same time, it's going to take some other guys to change that as well. Like, from someone to go from third to second or fourth to third, like, they're going to need other guys to mix that up as well. So I think a lot of it's going to come down to what people like myself, Brandon Hogue, like your 6th, 7th, 8th place riders do at this last round, because that's really what's going to make the difference in the points chase there.
Right. And I mean, realistically, 7th through or 8th through, first is probably going to be the way it's going to be.
Most likely. If you were betting on it, that'd be my bet.
If I was a betting man, I'd bet on that, because 99 out of 100 times that's the way it ends up.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, but always that small chance that something can change.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I mean, you're also, if you look after 8th place, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th could also change very easily amongst that little group. I don't think they can pass 8th, but that 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th could all change in a heartbeat as well.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely going to be some good battles to watch coming into this last round. There's definitely positions to be made up or lost, but at the same time, I think we're going to see our similar racing, and I think it's going to be some really good battles, because the last round, nobody has anything to lose at this point. Like, I think you're going to see everyone come out swinging.
Correct. Did you get to talk to Caesar at all?
I did not. I really did not see Caesar much, but I was glad to see him back on the gate.
Yeah, I saw some videos that looked like he got off, and then I realized they were old, and I just was, I was just wondering what had happened,
Yeah, to be honest, I can't speak on that. I'm not sure how his weekend actually went for him. I would just saw that he did line up for both pro events, so he is back and healthy.
Yeah, that's good. I was glad to see him back. He ended up 13th, John Galato Jr., the cross country guy, came out and rode and got 12th, which that's kind of where he's been running, in that range. Saar ended up 8th for the day. So he did well as also.
Yeah. So it should have been, I think, Wesley Wolf got a 7th. which was good for him. Saar ended up 8th, and then Aaron Salinas had his first pro top 10. So congrats to him getting the 9th.
Yep.
And then I rounded out the top 10.
Yes, you did. And it was Joel, Chad, Janusa, Ford, Hogue, Rastrelli, Wolf, Saar, Salinas, Lindquist, Ford. So that was our top. I knew that it had changed and mixed it up for me. I just couldn't remember exactly how it did it, and I was stepping on my tongue there a little bit. Max, there's one round left to go. What do you think the energy is going to be like at the last round? I know you guys have had a long season. You know, I know it's only 10 rounds, but still, they pound them out every 2 to 3 weeks. It's a pretty hectic schedule. How are you guys feeling as far as the pros? You got a little bit of a pulse on how everybody's doing?
Yeah, I think at this point in the season, everyone's getting to that point where we're all excited to go racing, but we're all going to be ready for a nice little break too. I think coming into the last round, everyone definitely puts in that last little push and little bit of effort that they can to do the best they can to end the year on a high note. And I think that's what we're going to see is a lot of guys come in ready to go and try and put together a good day of racing. But I also think there's going to be a lot of guys that when the day's over with, we're all going to be ready to go home and take a nice little break.
Yeah, I think it's going to be well earned. You know, everybody's putting in 110% and working real hard. I'm looking forward to seeing how Loretta's goes, you know, for you and a couple of the other guys. I think that things are going to turn around, and I believe there's a chance that 2024 is a crapshoot for everybody, and you could see a lot of different things happening. You know, Joel is super fast, I get it, but you guys are all fast, and at any given moment, anybody's beatable.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Joel just went back to back for the first time in his career, so I'm sure he's on a high right now and going to be looking to do it again. And I think it'll be interesting to see you start doing all your off-season changes and programs and see who ends up where and doing what. And obviously we'll all take a little time away and then get back to it and prepare for another one.
You know, when I look through the field and I look at the sponsors and I don't see a lot of changes coming. Do you?
To be honest, I don't. I really think everyone's going to do pretty similar to what they've done, and think it's just going to be the little things that people tweak, and you see who comes out with a little more of an advantage over somebody else, or things play out again as they did. You never know, but it'll definitely be a good couple months off, and we'll see what people figure out.
Exactly. I think it's going to be fun. That last race report we do is going to be really good, and we're going to have lots to talk about, because there's going to be a little bit of, you know, maybe some silly season conversation. Who knows? We'll see how it all plays out.
Yes, sir. I think it'll be entertaining.